Morning lovely people, and welcome back to the Wildlands. And in tonight's episode I'll start building our cold frame and greenhouse, which is very exciting, but I think it's going to be a lot of work. And I'm also going to have a nice off-grid lunch in a few hours. So enjoy tonight's video, which is part one of the video, because I've took a lot of footage and I wanted to spread it out for you. So I might put the second episode up straight after this tomorrow, or I might wait till midweek. You'll have to wait and see. So thanks for watching, and see how we get on with the cold frame build today. You have a look down there with walking cam. I can show you what we bought today. So we got all this wood, which is to make our cold frame greenhouse. We got a load of Euro pallets, which, like the chicken coop, we're going to put them on breeze blocks, which we're going to set on the ground. There's a pallet on top, and then round here on top of the uninstalled IBCs we have 21 sheets of polycarbonate. So they're 2 meters by 1 meter, so that gives you an idea of how big the cold frame and greenhouse is going to be, which is going to go on the ground here, kind of where that pile of twigs is. So a lot of lovely pallets. In July 2021, with the increase in travel restrictions caused by Brexit and the pandemic, we decided to buy off-grid land in Portugal to live a more sustainable lifestyle.
Follow along with our journey as we turn our beautiful but derelict land into our very own slice of off-grid heaven. Wildlands.
Morning. So we got walking cam on, and I thought I'd show you, as perhaps when you see our glorious sunshine, which you can see has already started today, just how cold it can be overnight. So have a look at the compost down here. So it's about 9:30 now. I got up at 7 and it was -4 on the thermometer, and you can see it's very harsh, the frost. I'm shaking, it's really cold, but a beautiful morning with just the silence and the birds. And all my polycarb that I bought yesterday for the cold frame is up here, and you can see it's covered in ice. And it's not melting even here in this. It's just starting to melt where it's got the sun on it. And then I very stupidly didn't cover me wood in tarp, so it's got the dew and the frost on it. Pallets are all frosty too. So a chilly morning, and I'm going to wait for it to warm up a little bit more, and then I'm going to start on the cold frame. So I'm very excited about that, but can only do a few hours this morning because poor old Juan, you remember he had the cone of shame on. He's got a poorly toe that gets better, and then as soon as he goes running he hurts it again, and then he gets a bacterial infection and it gets all sore. So he's off to the vets at 2. And also, in minor news but quite exciting, I found somebody locally who's got a compost toilet that they've never used, which is still in the box, so I'm picking that up on the way to the vets. So that'll be for our compost toilet and shower unit, which is the 3rd job on the long list. So got to finish the chicken coop, got to start and in turn finish the cold frame and greenhouse, then get some growing done, and then get a toilet and a shower block put in and look at solar options. So it's always a never-ending list. As soon as you think you're getting somewhere, there's more on the list. But I'm enjoying the challenge, particularly the managing of funds and trying to do things on a budget. So as I mentioned, on the cold frame budget, it's not really a budget build because the price of wood since COVID, Brexit, and all the problems with shipping and timbering and so on has meant the price of wood is like 4 or 5 times what it used to be. so it works out very expensive. I could potentially have bought loads more of these pallets and made the majority out of the pallet wood, but it is a massive job pulling the pallets apart, particularly these bigger Euro pallets which weigh a ton, and they've got 4 or 5 nails on each section. So 21 breeze blocks brought down the little hill. I'm a bit knackered now. That was hard work. It's a lot of work, this off-grid malarkey. So ground's still pretty frozen, but I'm going to make a start. God, I'm out of breath. That's a lot of breeze blocks for an old man like me to move down a hill. So I'm thinking out loud here, because as I've mentioned a few times, I tend to work on the fly. So I'm just looking at the ground I've got. It's kind of flat, digger flat. See, there's a lot of crevices, and also I'm thinking I might be able to collect the water off the higher end, which is going to be like a small greenhouse at this end here. Then I can get 2 or 3 IBCs there up against the border just here, and then I can collect the water. But equally, as this end is going to be the higher end, it might actually be better for this to be the lower end, because we've got this larger holly oak, holm oak, and a smaller holly oak which is going to get bigger, and all the leaves are going to drop on the roof. So it might actually make more sense to put the greenhouse at this end and the polytunnels at that end. But then if I do that, then I've got to fit the IBCs here. We do have a vintage or old grate there which is still going, which we want to keep, and I can decide on the orientation and which end the greenhouse goes once I've got the pallets down and level. So looking at our pile of wood, we've got a few different sizes. So we've got this larger squared end which is about 2 by 2, and then a smaller 1 by 1, and the 1 by 1s we've got about 40 lengths of 2.5 meters, so that's going to be the cold frame, and the 2 by 2 is going to be the uprights and the roof supports for the greenhouse end. And then these flatter pieces are going to be used to screw and keep in place the polycarbonate on the lids to the cold frame, and also to keep the polycarbonate walls and roof on the greenhouse. So all I've done is I've sketched out the measurements of 7 long of these pallets and 2 wide, so that's 14 pallets, which require 21 breeze blocks over there. So we're going to set them on the ground nearer to the fruit forest end, and then the rest of the build will happen in my head as I do it, and I'll overcome any problems I come across as I get there. And then the polycarb, we've got 2 thicknesses. So we've got this thinner one which is 5 millimeters, half a centimetre, and then down the bottom here we've got a 1 centimetre. So the 1 centimetre one, which is more rigid, is going to be the roof of the greenhouse, and then the thinner one will be the wall of the greenhouse and the lids and walls of the cold frame. And I've been told that this is particularly difficult to cut, but I do have to cut it, so I'm going to wing that as well, because I need to cut it in the middle. So this will be the height, half the width of that will be the height of the cold frame. So that's 1 metre, so nearly 3 foot, or a bit over 3 foot. So the cold frame would be 1.5 foot high at the front, slightly higher at the back, so that it's got an angle for the water to run off. So I'm just going to hoik a couple of pallets down and play around with the orientation versus IBCs and growing area, because it's not very wide compared to the width of the plot. So if we leave one end wider, then we can also put some growing beds near the cold frame, which would be nice. And also if I spin you around at the other end over there, if we leave in a big enough space, we can either extend the cold frame at a later date if we need more space, or we can make ourselves a little tea making shed, tool storage area. And as I mentioned in previous videos, if I take you to the other side of the pallet, so in that gap there where the polystyrene is on the floor, I'm going to put a table and chairs there with lots of bamboos growing around, so that when we open up the nursery for visitors or for day visits, then we've got somewhere we can make people a cup of tea, a nice cold beer, sit down in the summer sun. It's all very exciting. So that's the 7x2, 14 pallets placed. So the white polystyrene is going to sit under the capillary matting. So that is basically, each piece of polystyrene is a grow frame or cold frame. So there'll be another 2 on the back side, and then this other section will be greenhouse. But you can see that the ground is very rickety, so you've got quite big differentials there of about an inch or more. So it's going up in the middle and then down at this end and the other end. So it's going to be a tricky job. It doesn't have to be perfectly level, but it has to be more level than that. And you can see here underneath the polystyrene there's a big gap, so a little gap would be alright, but not a very big gap. So we're going to have to, so we'll start in the middle and level out the middle pallets and then work either way. So I think, I guess, if we dig down 2 inches here, give or take, level out, put the pallets back on, and then move to the right and to the left and try and get them as flat as we can. Now this is probably the worst part of the job. So the structure, when we laid out the pallets to give us a rough idea of placement, the middle is a few inches, 2 or 3 higher than the other sides. So if you look at this first one that we've put in, we've sunk it into the ground, and then this one where the rough outline is still about 2 inches too high. So the levelling is going to be the most boring part of this job, I think.
Have you got 2 levels or just the one?
This end, the breeze blocks are equal to, or in the case of that one, lower than ground level, so we're going to have to scrape some of the earth out. And then as you go this end, you can see they're getting higher and higher and higher. Just the one pier there. And here we're a good 6 inches off the ground. So the only upside is that there is clay in the soil and it does bake pretty hard. But what I'm going to do, because I really don't want to use concrete, but I don't want these to collapse at a later date, so I'm going to pack the gaps between each with a lot of earth and maybe a little terracing structure, and then I'm going to use posts like this, bash them in near each breeze block, and then screw it to the pallet. You can see problem solving on the fly. So here, a lot of earth. So we've got over half of our breeze blocks in, going up the run of the cold frame, up to that one there, one more there. So once we've got a set of 2 running down the whole length to the end, then we're going to put the first row of pallets on. Before we do that, because of the height differential, which I mentioned yesterday, we're going to pack this area with earth so that these breeze blocks don't fall away because they're stacked up. And then where the pallet is, I'm going to put a raised bed and fill it up to earth above the height of the breeze block to help contain that and keep it all solid. And then I'm also going to put posts in the ground by the breeze blocks, where you can, similar to that one there, and then I can screw those posts to the pallets at this end just to help it all hold fast and not sink over time. And look at that, what a beautiful day. So as I mentioned, -5 last night, and now I'm going to have to take my hoodie off and get my t-shirt on and then hoik a load of earth in to fill that up. Today's work. Now it's time to walk one who's lost his cone for his walk, but we've had to make him a makeshift shoe out of gaffer tape in a plastic bag.
It's bubble wrap.
Yeah. Because we couldn't find anywhere in Castello Branco that sells dog shoes, so we're going to have to order one online. So he's got to keep his foot clean, bless him. He seems to be using it alright. Walks around here are beautiful. There is a plenty. I got the boot on. It's okay though. So what I'm doing now is I'm making a raised bed at this end, which will act as kind of a retaining wall bed. So I'll put another post in here. And then I'm going to screw this big bit of pine up to this level, and then I have the bed sort of coming out to where my foot is, and then when it's filled with earth it will help to stop any sinking and runoff. So I'm going to build that and I'll show it to you when it's done. So there we go, retaining wall bed is finished, and it's filled with a mix of compost and rotted manure. And then it's all tapped down at the bottom back, and now the breeze block level is equal to the earth in the box. Remember when I was doing the shade house and installing the 4 IBCs along the back, the great trials and tribulations I had trying to get taps and fittings on the front. So I came up with a genius, even though I say it myself, solution. So let me show you what I did. So these 2 IBCs are going in this nook here, currently with the polycarbonate for the greenhouse and cold frame. So let me take you in my bag. So I've got lots of goodies in here. So what I bought is these, and this end unscrews, and then I've drilled the right size hole, which you can see here, and it screws in. So I'm going to put the PVC glue around the outside. Here we have a hose fitting, and then that goes on there. Hose pipe clip, and then your hose pipe. Job done.
What you doing, Dom?
So it's my miracle IBC fix. So these are the perfect size fittings, and and the hose fitting fits on the front. Screws in, got the right sized hole, so I'm just gluing it in.
That looks neat. That's much better solution than using those big ends.
Yeah. There we go. And then I've got glue all over my fingers, so I've got an off-grid cleaning method. It's like gets all the glue off. It's great. And then I've set these, one on the right, one on the left. So when we put this, if we put this one on the left and the other one on the right, then you can just swap the ends over.
That's sensible.
Or if you've got two buckets, you can fill them up at the same time.
Neat.
And here, there's an extra hole here.
Is that an air hole? What's that for?
That is so I could test it, because obviously it won't leak from there.
Oh, you can see all inside.
Knackered already, and t-shirt back on. Quite hard work drilling and putting screws in, so I'm going to go get some lunch, which I think Missy's very kindly putting together for me. So van life off-grid lunch. So we've got 4 bits of bread. That's good.
Yeah, you can't eat this if you're not off-grid.
No. So it's obviously a sandwich.
Hey, you figured it out!
And what have we got in here?
Chickpea tuna.
Chickpea tuna. Oh, look at that. That looks a bit good. Chickpea tuna is for vegans or vegetarians who don't eat tuna.
Yep, that's tuna with a CH. Tuna.
Tuna.
So it's chopped up chickpeas, red onion, sweet corn, a little cornichon, pickles, a bit of dill, a bit of mustard, salt, pepper, ground up nori to give it that kind of fishy, seaweedy kind of flavour. I think that's about it.
Looking good.
Wash it in there.
I'm having my tuna dinner too, except I eat real tuna because I'm not a vegan. You know, it's very nice. I'm enjoying my dinner. I'm going to lick all the tuna juice off. Yum, 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 yum. And I've got no dinner and I've got a silly hat on. As well as my silly hat, I've got to have my foot in a boot, which the mummy making from the wafer tape. It was the Wogie's wafer tape. Look, it's all wrapped up down here. Oh, poor Juan.
These are lettuces that Rosie grew in her garden.
From Rosie's garden.
Yeah. Fresh. I literally just pick them, rinse them off, and they're going in the sandwich, so they've still got sunshine in them.
That looks a bit good.
They do, don't they? Nice. And she's grown these through the winter.
I know,
amazing.
It's crazy, isn't it? So I went to the vet again, and he said I got to wear my cone. And for the walking outside, I got to wear a shoe. That's because you're a dog, innit? Broke your foot. Don't get that problem when you're a beautiful cat like me.
Look at that.
That looks good, doesn't it?
Go. Thanks.
Can I eat it without it falling apart? That is a question. So a little lunch before back to woodworking. So, great sandwich lunch. Feeling satiated. Back down to the cold frame. So as you'll see, I brought the mitre saw down to the cold frame area to make it easier to do the building. So the next job is to get my planks in the middle. So I'm going to go collect them and cut them to the right length. So as you can see, the cold frame is here. There's the plant box I made the other day, and the fruit forest bench is just there. There's Missy who's measuring up her beds, doing a plan, I think.
Hello.
Hello?
Got to do a garden planner, so I'm measuring out every single size of every single bed and bench and tree and location of everything, so I can put it all on a planner and work out what we can grow.
I was saying it was funny earlier, isn't it, in that I plan in my head.
Yeah.
And you're very organised with lists and measurements and...
Always on paper.
Yeah.
Have it all done on paper first, and then it's really easy to put it into the world.
So that's the middle screwed in. Now we can start the fun stuff. So I've got the uprights cut for the corners and 2 in the centre of each cold frame, and I've got the 2 middle ones up there, so I've got to repeat that across all the cold frames. So I'll come back to you once I've finished all that and got all the uprights on. So that's it for today, 3 o'clock. Going to walk one down to some friends, so I've probably got about 2/3 of the uprights up, and you can see the front uprights and top are up. Lovely bird song, so not a bad day's work. So it's a little bit rickety at the moment, so I'm going to strengthen it up. Obviously the ones going across will strengthen it up, so yeah, I'm pleased with that.